Over the weekend, we had a successful negotiation of trade between the EU and the US. Last week, we had a successful negotiation between Japan and the US, and according to Donald Trump, there are another 200 on the way. So it looks like the US seems to be getting its way in and negotiating these tariffs. As that's happened, the S&P notched up its fifth consecutive record, and that certainly defies a lot of gravity from us, our perspective, but that's the way it is. This week we've got Fed looking at this week's PCE report for future rate decisions. The Fed also decides this week whether or not they're going to move on interest rates. They're currently at 4.5%. Our feeling is that they will not, and maybe look to September for a rate reduction. That might apply a little bit of pressure on the US dollar between here and there. That's something we've outlined in the trade of the week. This week we also get a lot of reporting. Microsoft, Amazon, Apple and Meta platforms are all reporting profits this week, so that's going to be quite interesting. And industrial profits in China continue to slump. We'll also talk about some of the data which is out this week, and also round that off with a little bit of talk on the US dollar and what we actually feel will occur there. Okay, let's have a bit of a deeper dive into what's happening in China. That's a bit of a focus there. Now, I guess the main headline is that China and the US have continued to stall on the trade negotiations, and they're pushing that out for another 3 months. Interesting to see. Both parties or both sides need to look at some transaction. Obviously, it's a little bit different because the economies are not as friendly as, say, Japan and the EU to the US. So in my mind, it's slightly different. And you've also got an economy in China that's not going that well. As I mentioned, industrial profits declined 1.8% year on year, which is following that trend. Also shows that deflationary pressures, and just general deflationary pressures in China, where there's always this need for stimulus, which in my mind is a major concern. Because I do think when you look at what we're seeing in China and you look at business confidence, it's still quite negative. Now, normally it's sort of something we can sort of manage, and the PBOC would manage this type of stuff. But I think when you look at the potential trade disruptions caused by the tariffs, that to me is a major issue. And logistics firm Flexiport, for instance, in the States, showed that there was a 60% drop in cargo ships traveling between China and the US. And JP Morgan forecasts an 80% plunge in Chinese imports, which suggests that the trade is just not happening. And that's going to distort a lot of issues going forward. So if the US and China cannot come up with a transaction that makes sense towards both of them and commercially viable towards both of them, then this could be something that is a concern for potential global growth. I mean, also, I guess when you look at Treasury Secretary Besant, basically has come out and said, look, this is something that is unsustainable, and the tariffs need to be renegotiated. Otherwise, I guess having the number 2 economy in the world faltering already, this is just going to add further and further weight to slower global economic growth. So to me, that is a major issue. As we said, China's still got some issues out there economically, and they still need to sort of stimulate the economy. Still deflationary, still an issue, and the fact that we don't have a trade agreement further highlights the fact that this could be something that unwinds a lot of processes. So it's something I think that will be a major focus for everybody, particularly ourselves, in terms of where the economy, I think where the global economy is actually going to go. And I think, let's see, the Fed I don't think will move on rates, but this is something that we do need. There might be a relief rally after it. We do feel that the deal will be done, but in the meantime, we're running out of time. And that, to me, could cause some pressures on a lot of things, including the US dollar. Okay, so we've got all those happening there. As I said, we've talked a little bit about China. This week, I think, is going to be quite a busy week, as I mentioned. Trade negotiations between the US and all its trading partners. This is what's occurring. As we've got that August 1 deadline. for this approach. If that's not met, there could be some issues there, a little bit of volatility. It's got mega caps, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, and Meta set to report. And we've got others like Boeing, PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, etc. Also this week, we've got monetary policy discussions with Fed, Bank of Japan, Bank of Canada, and a few others. And we've also got our PCE release in the States. That's going to be important because that's something the Fed does watch. We've also got ISM manufacturing and PMI data out of the States as well. So we've got quite a busy week, but just a quick summary. We've got obviously geopolitical risk, we've got the dealings, we've got good reports, company earnings reports, and we've got good economic data. So we're going to expect that to be quite volatile.